Now, as we converse about reimagining the very idea of India, we are joined by two very diverse perspectives today. Our first speaker, Dr. Parkala Prabhakar, is a renowned political economist and the managing director of Rightfolio. Joining him today is Dr. Vikram Sampath, a prolific historian and author known for his insightful narratives on Indian history. Please join me in welcoming on stage Dr. Parkala Prabhakar and Dr. Vikram Sampath. Please join us on stage, gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you both.
Prabhakar, if you can sort of start off saying, why do you think we need to reimagine India?
Shankar, I traveled from Hyderabad last night. At the security check, the constable was repeatedly saying, one tray, one bag. That one could put one bag in one tray, that's all. For a second, I was astonished why this constable was making a political statement. One tray, one bag, one nation, one election, one nation, one language, one nation, one leader, one nation, one nation, one. Then I realized it's a very, a transactional thing in an airport. But that is the kind of so-called reimagining India that is happening today. Now, what I discovered, Shankar, is that this kind of a reimagining that we see today, this kind of a reimagined discourse that we see today, is nothing actually a reimagined discourse or reimagined idea of India, but a repurposed idea of India, a repurposed discourse of India, harking back to early 19th century, especially after the British power has consolidated from 1818 onwards, after the comprehensive defeat of the Marathas. What we see today, the so-called reimagining or the so-called recasting of India and the Indian imagination, is a repurposed narrative from those times, that India belongs to certain people. India belongs to people who worship in a certain way. India belongs to people who follow a certain religion. India belongs to people who speak a certain language. India belongs to people who reside in a particular geographical area, etc., etc.
Where do you think the debate is located? And in your own writings, I mean, you've written about Gauhar Jahan at one level and written about Savarkar on the other side. I mean, not on the other side literally, but it's a cultural spectrum. Do you think there is an othering of India? Is that charge valid?
A very famous American historian had once said, what people did in the past is not stored in amber. Every generation looks back and drawing from its own experiences makes patterns of the past and the present. So when we are saying we are reimagining Indian past, I don't see it as something that is necessarily bad or something that is necessarily a political project that someone sitting somewhere is sponsoring for a group of hideous people, trying to say, okay, let's change this narrative so that we can get electoral dividends. That may have some element of truth somewhere, but by and large, to rubbish away the entire, change that is palpable in Indian society today, to just a political project or something that is linked to an ideology or a political party, I think that would be slightly, missing the point. We just saw what happened during the Pratishthan of the Ram temple in Ayodhya. Of course, the movement was led by the Sangh Parivar in the 90s, which brought the temple movement into public consciousness. But during the consecration ceremony, the Pran Pratishtha, common Indians across the length and breadth of India who had nothing to do with the BJP, RSS, VHP or anything, who were also feeling that this was a day of renaissance and resurgence, where after 500 years of struggle, we've got back one of our most sacred spots. To say that that is just, a very, very bigoted project of some political party I think you're being totally not in sync with the mood of the people. We need to wake up and smell the coffee, the filter coffee, which is coming straight from the ground. Now, just in the session before ours, Dr. Tharoor and Ms. Braverman spoke about history and about, and Dr. Tharoor there very rightly also questioned her about the atrocities of the British Empire. But very often, he and his party don't want us to question the atrocities of the invaders prior to the British Empire, the Mughal Empire. They became us, is the normal narrative, which is not so much the case. They were as much oppressors as the British Empire was, in a different manner. It was cultural imperialism of another kind. Now, to even question these or to talk about some of these aspects of our past somehow gets you painted as a communal and a bigoted person, which is, I think, the problem. Dr. Prabhakar mentioned about equal rights to everybody and so on, which the Constitution, enshrined. Very well, no one has a dispute about that. But then 5 years before the Indian Constitution came into force, what was called probably the right-wing, party of those times, the Hindu Mahasabha, which was presided by people like Vinayak Damodar Savarkar and Shama Prasad Mukherjee and others, came out with a draft constitution of free Hindustan. And in that, there is not even one mention of citizenship based on religion. And in this document, which I quote extensively in my book too, they say every citizen of India is equal in the eyes of the law, irrespective of the religion. Religion has nothing to do with the majority community. The Hindus will not get any extra privileges because they are in a majority. And conversely, the minorities will not get extra concessions only because they are a minority. In the eyes of the law, everybody is equal. And this was the stated position of the ultra-right party of that time, and a lot of these thoughts actually flowed into the final Indian Constitution too. And in the Constituent Assembly debates, several members of the Congress actually acknowledged that the Hindu Mahasabha's views on this were quite egalitarian, and they would be adopting some of these views into it, into the final draft of the Constitution. So this fact that, there is one set of people who actually discriminate on the basis of something, I don't know if that is historical enough to actually, on a political side. On a political side, if the most ultra-right party is actually, giving equal rights to everybody without appeasement of any section, what else is secularism? He also spoke about the caste differences and so on. Now, Hindutva, by its very definition, would actually be anti-caste. If Hindutva is a movement or a political ideology and philosophy to unite Hindus, it would never want them to be divided on the basis of caste. So right from Savarkar to Golwalkar to the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and others, all through their long history, had always advocated for a casteless Hindu society, because you make them en bloc as one unit. That is what helps you. If you splinter them into castes, that is not going to help. And on the contrary, actually, historically speaking, it was someone like Gandhi who in his collected writings say, I very much believe in the Varna system. I very much believe, in which he had a constant running debate with Ambedkar too, where he said, I believe that the Varna system is not odious, and for Hinduism to remain, the Varna system is essential. So who is the right wing here and who is the non-right here? So I think we've got a lot of facts all muddled up for contemporary political rhetoric, which is fine in some way. But if you actually get into the historical facts, I think the fact is somewhere totally different from what we talk about.
I don't think I'm qualified to defend Mahatma Gandhi, so I will leave him to defend himself in his works about what he said in Varna. Certainly there are many things that one can debate about.
If you just allow me like 2 sentences. Now, for all the so-called, assertion of Hinduism and so on, this is a country where I think Hindus are the only community who don't get to own their temples. It's the government. Where is this a secular nation when the government controls all our temples, whereas no other community in this country, they can run their own institutions, they can run their educational institutions. I come from Karnataka, where just now, there are in the budget, you have 300 crores for the Waqf, you have 200 crores for Christian institutions and 10% tax for the Hindu temples above 1 crore. And 75% of Delhi is actually Waqf property. So after defense and railways, the largest landowner in India is the Waqf, including Mukesh Ambani's house is on Waqf property. The Delhi High Court is Waqf. The Central Vista is Waqf. And the Waqf Act of 1995 can evict anybody. You can't go to a civil court. You have a Waqf tribunal which will try you. You have a Places of Worship Act which will ensure that you can't get any reclamation, legal, peaceful reclamation.
That's two sentences.
That thing is flashing there, so I got to sort of wrap up.
But just allow me maybe 15 sentences. You see, why does the state intervene? Why does the state intervene to say that untouchability is unlawful? State intervenes. You can say, well, it's for us to decide. And Vikram talked about the temples. Shankar, I tell you, in temples, Varnashrama Dharma, the atrocious side of Varnashrama Dharma was in the temples. You see, you had one caste, one which came out with the mouth, could enter the Garbhagriha, and the other one could stand 3 feet away, the other one could stand 7 feet away, the other one could stand 10 feet away, and from the 10 feet onwards, the jatis, the castes, one can stand 12 feet away, another could stand only 15 feet away, 17 feet away, 19 feet away, 21 feet away, and some others could not even come into the temple, not only come into the temple, but also could not walk on the streets leading to the temple. Now, this is the reason why the state had intervened. And the state is the British state.
Wait a minute. So can the state also intervene to ensure there is no halala, there is no triple talaq, there is a uniform civil code?
It is happening, isn't it?
There is not, and that is called as a bigoted communal agenda.
Why should not?
Why is there gender empowerment? The Muslim women can be married off at 13.
I wouldn't like to cross-talk, but finish it, you finish it.
So this is a conversation that we need to have. It is important to have as to how we reimagine India. In my own construct, I would like to reimagine India where the air is free of pollution to breathe, where the children in schools have teachers, where the hospitals have doctors, where people have jobs. But that is a part of the narrative that sort of, as both of them agree, it doesn't often appear on television screens, but needs to appear more. I shall wrap up this. I think this is a conversation everybody needs to have. Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you, for a scholarly discussion.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. And please do stay on stage as I invite Saurav Yagnik, COO ABP Network, and Rajiv Dubey, Media Head, Dabur India, to please join us on stage and present our esteemed guests with a token of our appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to what promises to be yet another engaging and exciting conversation. राम मंदिर की स्थापना के साथ अब राम राज्य की बातें भी होने लगी हैं, पर राम राज्य की सही परिभाषा क्या है? क्या ये हमारे समाज के सभी वर्गों के लिए है, या क्या ये राजनीति से ऊपर की एक अवधारणा है जिसका ध्यान केवल गुड गवर्नेंस पर है? Let's try and understand the essence of Ram Rajya from someone whose super hit books on Indian mythology are backed by tremendous research as well as a liberal, progressive outlook. Please welcome on stage author and former diplomat Amish Tripathi. Please join us on stage. And how wonderful it is that one of India's most loved authors is going to be interviewed by another one of India's most loved authors, Chetan Bhagat. Thank you for sharing this conversation.
Your interest in mythology, it was there from the very beginning, because from me, I think I was like the typical 90s kid. For us, there were two references for the Ramayana, at least for me. One, we had a book in school, Hindi book, which was rectangular shape. It There was only one book which, like normally books are...
Which school taught the Ramayana? Yeah? Our
Let
books-
me, I'm
our
sorry.
school- sorry.
It was the Ramayana.
Okay.
We studied it in school,
Wow,
in Army Public School in Delhi. And then after that, it was the serial. Arun Govil, that was, we all understood about, you know, the whole story and everything, and that was it. But for you, obviously, mythology holds a lot bigger meaning, because I know when you write a book on something, you need to be very involved with it. And you've written book after book after book. Was it always an interest?
Yeah, it always was. So I grew up in a very, very religious, very traditional family. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was a pandit in Varanasi, at Vishwanathji.
Like a priest?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. He could do the Pran Pratishtha Puja, actually. And he was also a teacher at BHU, Banaras Hindu University. My maternal grandmother was also a teacher. My parents studied in the Hindi medium, but they wanted to send, there are 4 of us siblings, they wanted us to go to schools that were way beyond their income and social class. So we went to Cathedral and John Convent School in Mumbai. I had friends whose shoes cost more than my father's salary. And then I went to all of us, we went to different colleges. I went to Xavier's College, and then MBA from IIM Calcutta. I think we were in the same batch. You were A, I was C. So actually, we had, in a way, both worlds. At home, it was completely traditional, but at the school and college, it was what you'd call modern India. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had the best of both worlds.
नेक्स्ट लेवल के सवालों पे जाते हैं.
Okay.
क्योंकि ये टॉपिक
ठीक है.
राम राज्य की बात हो रही है. 2 इंटरप्रिटेशंस हो सकते हैं. एक तो ये कि राम राज्य इज द आइडियल गवर्नेंस. एवरीथिंग इज बीन गवर्न्ड रियली वेल, एवरीबडी इज ऑनेस्ट, देयर इज नो करप्शन. दैट्स राम राज्य. बट राम राज्य कैन लिटरली ऑल्सो मीन देयर इज अ किंग कॉल्ड राम, and it's his kingdom. The whole fight was for the kingdom. That's the Ramayana story. तो आपके लिए राम राज्य है क्या?
Ram Rajya itself is actually not discussed in so much detail, right? It's discussed in other texts, like the Yog Vashisht, for example, which is a pure philosophical text. And I found this interesting because much of the discussions of the Ram Rajya actually happen in other texts. I think the Ramayana actually tells us what creates the kind of leader who can build a Ram Rajya, right? A leader who goes through personal suffering but still reacts to it in a positive way. I have a theory that maybe there are various different versions of the Ram Rajya because we are supposed to make up our own interpretation of what Ram Rajya should be. And there are various texts which explore this, right?
What is it for you?
For me, there's this lovely Sanskrit line which I put actually in one of my books. Rama Raja Vasi Tvam Prochra Yasvat. I'll translate, don't worry.
Please.
Prochra Yasvat Eshiram Nyayartham Yudhyasva Sarveshu Samam Chara Paripalay Durbalam Vidhi Dharmam Varam Prochra Yasvat Eshiram Rama Raja Vasi Tvam. What translates as you live in the kingdom of Ram. Hold your head high. Protect the weak. Know that dharma is above all. Fight for justice. Treat all as equal. Hold your head high. You live in the kingdom of Ram. To me, this encapsulates a beautiful way of looking at what Ram Rajya should be. Treat all as equal. Fight for justice. Protect the weak. Know that dharma is not religion. Dharma is beyond religion, right? Dharma is what's the right way to be. These are the philosophical discussions that our ancestors had. Many kings used to claim to be following the path of Ram.
Amish, you've been fabulous. You didn't avoid or dodge any question. You gave deep insights and knowledge. And I think I learned a lot today. So once again, Jai Shri Ram, and thank you for coming.
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. Thanks, Chetan, for doing this.
Please do stay on the stage, Amish, as I invite Anupam Ashish, Chief Marketing Manager, ABP Network, to join us on stage and present Amish with a token of our gratitude. And as that photo op takes place, I'd also like to remind you that we at the ABP Network are felicitating change makers for good. And Amish is our change maker for good in the field of literature for bringing our myths alive. So let's welcome on stage Pushan Chakrabarti, CFO ABP Network, to please do the honors. Ladies and gentlemen.